2025A. Its current status, future prospects, challenges, and its role in Sri Lanka's aviation and tourism sector. This can be used for narration in a documentary-style video or YouTube analysis. Aviation Sri Lankan Airlines 2025, flying high or grounded in crisis? Aviation, intro, 0 o'clock. Hey everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the skies over South Asia to explore the latest chapter in the story of SriLankan Airlines as the national carrier of Sri Lanka. It's 2025, and the airline has been navigating through turbulence for years. But is the airline finally turning things around? Or is it flying into even more uncertain skies? Let's get into it. Aviation Sedilla Ethio. My Diaresis Sedilla, History Recap, 040. First, a little background. Sri Lankan Airlines was founded in 1979 as Air Lanka and later rebranded in 1998 after a partial acquisition by Emirates. For years, it was known for excellent service, especially on routes between Europe, the Middle East, and South Asia. But following the end of the Emirates partnership in 2008, things started going downhill. Financial losses, political interference, and poor fleet decisions led to a massive debt crisis. By 2020, the airline had accumulated billions in losses, and that was before the pandemic hit. Broken bar, pandemic and collapse, 120, like most airlines, COVID-19 nearly grounded Sri Lankan completely. But for Sri Lanka, which depends heavily on tourism, the effects were even more devastating. Passenger numbers plummeted. Revenues dropped. And the country's overall economic crisis only made things worse. By 2022, the airline was surviving on government bailouts, a money the Sri Lankan government frankly didn't have to spare. In 2023, the government announced plans to privatize the airline as part of a broader IMF-backed economic recovery package. That marked the beginning of a new chapter. 2024, the turning point, 210, fast forward to 2024, and we saw the first signs of recovery. A major restructuring plan was introduced. Non-core business assets were sold off. Loss-making routes were cut. Fleet rationalization began, including plans to phase out older Airbus A330s and consider leasing newer, fuel-efficient aircraft. At the same time, Sri Lanka's tourism numbers started to bounce back. European travelers, regional visitors from India and China, and the diaspora began to return. But is this momentum continuing into 2025? Aviation Sedilla, Sri Lankan Airlines in 2025, current fleet and routes, 305. As of 2025, Sri Lankan Airlines operates a modest fleet of around 20 aircraft, primarily Airbus A320s, A321s, and A330s. A320-A321neo aircraft are being used on regional routes India, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East. A330s are still flying long-haul routes London, Melbourne, Tokyo, and a few seasonal European destinations. The airline has not yet placed large new orders, but there's talk of leasing more fuel-efficient aircraft like the A350 or Boeing 787, depending on the outcome of privatization talks. On the route front, Sri Lankan Airlines is focusing on profitability. It has strengthened its codeshare agreements with on-world partners like Qatar Airways and British Airways to reduce pressure on its own operations. Degrees, financial status, 4 o'clock, let's talk numbers. Sri Lankan Airlines is still loss-making in 2025. But losses have narrowed significantly compared to pre-pandemic levels. Operating revenue is up thanks to rising ticket prices and better seat occupancy. Cargo has become a surprisingly strong income stream. The airline has cut staffing costs, restructured debt, and improved efficiency across the board. However, its total debt still exceeds $1.2 billion, and the airline is still heavily reliant on government guarantees. Currency, privatization update, 450. So where do we stand on privatization? In 2024, the Sri Lankan government called for expressions of interest from global aviation players and investment funds. In 2025, negotiations are still ongoing, but three main bidders are believed to be in the running. 1. A regional airline group from the Middle East. 2. A South Asian investor consortium with links to budget carriers. 3. A global private equity firm with experience in turning around distressed airlines. There is also speculation that SriLankan Airlines could be split with its profitable routes and operations sold to a private party, while debt and legacy costs remain with the government. Nothing is finalized yet, but major decisions are expected later this year. The role in Sri Lanka's tourism economy. 545. Tourism is the backbone of Sri Lanka's economy. And SriLankan Airlines is still the primary international gateway to the island nation. In 2025, Sri Lanka is expecting to welcome over 2.5 million tourists, and SriLankan Airlines plays a key role in transporting them, especially from Europe, India, and the Middle East. The government sees the airline not just as a business, but as an essential part of its tourism infrastructure. This is one reason why selling it off is such a politically sensitive issue. The customer experience and brand image. 630. Sri Lankan Airlines has long been known for its warm service and hospitality. In 2025, customer experience is slowly improving again. On-time performance is better. Cabin interiors are being refurbished. New meal options and in-flight entertainment are being introduced. But the airline is still dealing with aging aircraft, occasional maintenance delays, and a reputation that's been damaged by years of decline. The challenge is regaining trust, especially among high-paying passengers and corporate travelers. Regional competition. 710. Sri Lankan is operating in one of the world's most competitive air travel regions. Indian carriers like Indigo, Air India, and Vistara are rapidly expanding. Middle Eastern giants like Emirates and Qatar Airways dominate long-haul traffic. Low-cost carriers are eating into its regional market. To survive, Sri Lankan Airlines must carve out a niche, either as a boutique national carrier or as part of a larger airline group through a strategic partnership. The road ahead. 8 o'clock. So, what's next? Sri Lankan Airlines in 2025 is a work in progress. It's flying, not thriving, but not crashing either. The decisions made this year, especially about privatization and fleet renewal, will determine whether it becomes a profitable airline or remains a burden on the Sri Lankan taxpayer. The good news? There's still potential. Sri Lanka is a unique destination. The national airline still has a strong brand in many markets. And with the right leadership and investment, it could soar again. Outro. 9 o'clock. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments. Negation: should Sri Lanka privatize its national airline? Negation: have you flown with Sri Lankan Airlines recently? What was your experience? And until next time, safe travels, and see you in the skies. Aoi diaresis sedilla. Word count, 1020. Style, engaging, factual, YouTube narration friendly topic, SriLankan Airlines 2025. Would you like this turned into a voice-over ready script or have a thumbnail, title idea for YouTube?